So what do you guys think about Galio right now after introducing it week 1? Everyone laughed at you, and then week 2, now everyone bans it. Why is he suddenly being such a considered pick?
I mean, I think Galio just has the same strengths. Like it's like when Taliyah was broken, it's a push and roam champ that gives a lot, and it's also not that weak in the later games where Taliyah kind of falls off, I think.
Do you agree with banning this against Caps, who only showed Galio like once or twice all of last year?
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know what kind of scouting they have. I don't know what they've seen. Maybe they do it for a specific matchup. I'm not sure, but I think in general, Caps could play Galio before, and I've seen him done it before, and it was not like he was bad on it or anything. So
I think they just maybe they struggle against it in scrims, so it could just be like a comfort thing for them, or they're confident they can take Fnatic on a more standard team comp as well.
Yeah, it looks like there's a standard pick coming out for the mid lane. I am looking very much at that mid lane at Caps versus PerkZ, because I think confidence-wise, both of them will want to show something. The Fisho, maybe we see the Veigar counter pick coming out as well if it's not banned. But for Jankos in the jungle, it's going to be Sejuani, and it looks like they'll be having Braum as their second pick. No surprises yet.
And no surprise at all so far. Senkooks against Azir, if Ryze is already banned. Do you think we're looking at a Malzahar from PerkZ side, or do you actually think we are looking towards things like Veigar?
I'm not sure. Like around the low right now, even in LCK, it seems to be a lot of comfort picks against Azir. That's the counters. Some people pick Veigar, some people play some Vel'Koz, other people play sOAZ, and
Forgot that she was open.
that can still be a fine matchup. Like today, I mean, today was a pretty good matchup for sOAZ apparently against Splice, or against Misfits. So, I mean, I think there's still. I don't think it's unmatched to first pick Azir. I don't think it's that strong.
It's interesting to see what AD champion G2 is going to be forced on. I expect to see the AD champion pool pinched by Fnatic, and I would hope we see a Sivir ban at least, because if you consider how the two comps are shaping out, then Azir can still have push against sOAZ. So I think G2 will probably look to equalize that from bot lane.
Yeah, it looks like they have pretty strong lanes so far in Fnatic. Do you think maybe they'll try and find something for sOAZ to play towards, or what do you think the idea of the composition is?
I mean, how many dog champs are open right now?
Let's see.
That's a lot.
Well, Shen's banned.
That's a target ban, obviously.
There you go.
Well, jungle pool being
Jarvan
pinched.
ban too.
One ban is actually a little bit surprising here, and not going for the AD carries Hussein just highlighted before here. Varus is also open. If Hjärnan wants to play that, it's been a traditional old school pick for him, and of course good in the current meta.
Now you were saying you quite like, well, you've always quite liked Varus, but we've not been seeing it so much.
I just like that he provides really good laning phase, and I think late game against tanks with Rageblade, that he is very good as long as there's not a lot of things that can dive onto him, and Tahm Kench can't obviously really touch him right now. So I think Varus is an option for Hjärnan.
He's also kind of a stronger Ashe in the terms of ultimates. I think like that's probably why Korea likes it a lot. They always like the Ashe of Varus most of the time. So
I like the Gnar pick a lot. We know that Fnatic will probably not play Jace from top lane, so no matter what, I think they'll have a strong side lane champion from top lane, and paired with like probably the strongest jungler in the game at the moment, I think G2's like looking really good here.
Is that a dog champ or not, Cho'Gath Senkooks?
I think we can consider it a dog champ.
You can kill people though.
I think if I ask Alfari, he would probably say dog champ.
He would probably say that. All right, let's see what the last pick gets rounded out by. Kha'Zix in the jungle for the side of Fnatic. That means we have the entire comp. So, Hussein, what do you think if you see all these 5 champions on the list for Fnatic? What's their strengths?
Fnatic, it's really hard. I think G2 just has a much better comp in this game. Fnatic is probably just looking to see if they can control through mid lane, and then look for the Baron win condition with Cho'Gath.
Why do you think G2 have such a strong comp compared to Fnatic's?
They have a pretty strong 2v2 with Varus, Braum against Tristana and Tahm Kench, in my opinion. They have winning side lane as well, and once they come to 1-3-1, it'll come down to how will Fnatic utilize Tahm Kench to stop G2's 1-3-1.
I think for Fnatic to win, they really need to abuse the mid game with Tahm. I think the Kha'Zix makes sense if they go for a tank top, but I do like G2's comp.
What are some of the things we need to see from the Tahm Kench in mid game?
I mean, we need to see him use his OP ultimate, and
so from mid lane to side lanes?
We need to see yet some roams, definitely. And I think Cho'Gath, if this goes late game, Cho'Gath is going to get guided, and he's not going to do anything in this game.
All right, we're still looking at the composition before we get into the game. We're going to get the handshake from the coaches, obviously. Maybe Grabs is a bit happier. I'm sure Dylan Falco is not unhappy about his draft. So, predictions for the bans. It seems like G2 won, but obviously we know that that's not always the final factor. So, despite these picks and bans, what is your prediction, the Fisho?
I think G2 eSports will win this game, and I'm not basing this on the draft. I'm basing it on how disconnected Fnatic have looked, especially yesterday. I think G2 will come in stronger for this game.
All right, Senko.
I say G2 with the draft.
I think G2 based on both play and draft.
All right, fantastic. We will see what happens. We are about to be on the Rift with G2 versus Fnatic. We will see what both teams bring to that, and we will get to our casters to call the game.
Vedius, 2 weeks ago, this match would have been a battle of royalty, a fight between kings worthy of songs and stories. But today the princes seem to be paupers, squabbling over scraps at the bottom of the EU LCS table. Disregarded and discarded, this is the moment you prove that you are a king. When wave upon wave of enemies besiege your gates, this is the moment you prove you deserve the crown. This may be a clash of kings, but no king can rule forever, Vedius. Let's find out who wins today on the Summoner's Rift.
Excellent portrayal, excellent setup. Really adds to the hype that we've been building up for this matchup. And now we have to hope that the game can deliver. And we've got some very exciting champions. And a bit of an exciting early game. Oh, never mind, just a bit of ward. That is the voices.
Your voice!
It is my voice. And it's
my
your voice
as well.
That's Vedius, I'm Medic.
God, no one's going to believe that. Don't have the charisma, Vedius.
So, we heard from the analyst desk a lot about this draft. Very interesting from the G2 side, looking to play the kind of 1-3-1 later on into the game. Jankos is looking for a lot of the abuse from the Tahm Kench ultimate around the mid game, trying to punish the fact that G2 will be trying to set up on these side lanes, see if they can find a couple of picks. But expectations are that if the game gets too long, Cho'Gath isn't going to really be able to do much when you think about the kiteability of the Braum and the Gnar and how much side lane pressure that they will have. But for me, I'm looking very much at this Baron later on because Fnatic have not shown to have very good Baron control. They really don't know how to properly set up. They don't know how to effectively start the Baron and take advantage of the poor positioning of their opposition. And when they have a composition that has the Cho'Gath in it, has a fast Baron taking champions like the Azir and the Tristana, I'm concerned as to how well they will be able to play around that objective when I think it's so integral with their composition.
Before we get into the real meat of the mechanics and the compositions, Vedius, I just want to set the scene for a few people. If you haven't been following European League of Legends for a long time, you might wonder why we big up this game so much. You might wonder why we call it the Clash of Kings. Well, Fnatic are the former kings, 5 championships to their names, and G2 are the current rulers of the roost with the last 4 championships for themselves. This is truly our top 2 teams here in Europe battling out for the crown.
Yeah, there's quite a large legacy behind both of them, and while Fnatic's streak was interrupted by that one blip of Alliance, G2 have been on a 4-year winning streak, but both teams are struggling right now in the early season. Both currently sitting at 1 and 2. The loser will share 8th place with H2K after 2 weeks of play, which is definitely not what either of these teams really expected. So a win will be big here.
Let's come back to the game at hand, though, Vedius. I want to talk about the mid lane. PerkZ against Caps. Mid laner versus mid laner. Star versus Star. And this time, PerkZ has the Zoe. He might be interrupted as Broxah is looking up towards the top lane for a gank, but he seems to just be waiting for the time being.
Wunder is pushing up that lane, sOAZ just allowing him to do so. As Wunder goes down to ward, let's see if they can set up a play. You can see that Jankos all very close as well. Gnar coming up though, I think this is risky from Broxah.
Just waiting his time, biding for the opportune moment to strike, for the time to commit regicide, to take down a king. Wunder has that Gnar bar built up, and it looks like Broxah realizes he doesn't want to take this.
I would have been quite suspicious. Ooh, sOAZ still level 3 though.
Jankos is backed as well. Broxah's going to jump in. And that was a bit underwhelming.
Absolute waste of time. Jungler effectively came to top lane, stole all of the XP, and then left. Pretty unfortunate there for sOAZ, but I feel like Wunder should have caught on to something when he recognized that sOAZ was still level 3, because they should hit level 4 at around the same time, but because now Wunder will have that XP advantage and is able to cleanly get out of that gank, bit of an advantage gain now in the top lane.
PerkZ just picked up teleport from Spell Thief in the mid lane from his W, so he's going to back now and then teleport back into the lane. And this is why I want to look at this mid lane, because Caps and PerkZ are probably pretty equal in terms of skill. It's really about how one of them can pilot these champions.
Yeah, it's always an exciting matchup.
He cancelled the TP, because Broxah was there.
Wait,
he had to cancel it because Caps was there with the push. Jankos was down towards the bottom side. Hylissang's the one going to get caught out first, looking for the double stun here. Still has the thick skin, is going to try and get his way away. Has burnt the flash already. Can get near the turret. The heal comes out as well. And Hylissang is somehow still alive as G2 can't quite capitalize.
Good body block there from Rekkles to avoid the final slow from Braum. Really tanky champion, soaked up so much damage and is able to get away with his life. But this will give a slight advantage to the bottom lane now of G2. So Wunder getting a bit of an XP lead in the bottom lane. The fact that Hylissang being forced back. Oh, wait, he has teleport. Don't worry about him.
Unsealed spellbook,
Unsealed spellbook. But yeah, PerkZ cancelling his TP. He did swap to it, so you can see it was definitely his summoner spell that he did use. Caps will have that advantage, and it is interesting how Caps has changed it up to use the unsealed spellbook. Traditionally, we would see the Comet on the Azir to add a bit of damage to his poke, but instead, he wants to try and match PerkZ, potentially on a side lane, considering that they do want to play the 1-3-1 with the Zoe later on into the game. He wants to be able to prepare for that and compensate later on.
So we know that Fnatic want to play around the Baron later on. We know that they have a strong team fight if they can get all the parts to work together. At the moment, they seem to have a pushing lane in top and a pushing lane in mid. What are G2 looking to do right now to try and react to this pressure from Broxah and from Fnatic?
I think they're fine farming for the time being. Ooh, look at PerkZ. Does use the Ignite that he picked up from his spell Thief. And unfortunately misses the E. I'm just going to say the E for now. The Bubble of Death. So good sidestepping there from Caps. But this is always an exciting matchup. We didn't really get to talk about it because of the interrupting gank down in the bottom lane. But when Caps debuted onto the LCS stage, he went up against PerkZ and he had some fantastic performances. Those highlights are still being used today of the great outplays that he was able to have onto his opposition. Throughout the year, Caps has grown, but PerkZ has done the same. He went to MSI. He managed to make it to the final up against SKT. Both these mid laners have had fantastic performances throughout 2017. And while right now, this year, there are certainly some contenders for the best mid laner in Europe, to many fans and to many Europeans, these two really are some of the big favorites that contend and want to be sitting above the other in the current EU LCS.
And these two are the players that other mid laners look up to as well. I know Jizuke said that he wants to challenge Caps and wants to challenge PerkZ in the future. Someone else that people look up to is Rekkles in this bottom lane. You know, he's been a stalwart member of Fnatic for the last few years. He's been the best AD carry alongside Sven for the last couple of years as well.
You can't forget when you speak of stalwarts of sOAZ too.
That's the sign I want to see. sOAZ, just such a veteran of the league now.
Yep. So many years he's been playing League of Legends, still performing at the highest level.
I want to come back to junglers and jungle pathing. Vedius, bring us back to the actual game at hand at the moment. Jankos and PerkZ haven't been too effective. They talked on the desk about how they've lacked synergy at times. It is Jankos spending a lot of time around this mid lane at the moment.
He wants to make sure that PerkZ doesn't get potentially camped by Broxah.
Just a little nap in the jungle.
Yeah, nap time, taking a break.
Yeah, it's just like...
But this is something that we've seen G2 do a lot over the last 2 weeks. They love to play around enemy neutral buffs, the blue and the red buff. They push up mid, they make sure they set up vision in advance, and they're able to steal it away. In the past, teams like Giants were successfully able to punish them, but Fnatic were not prepared. sOAZ was forced under his tower, Caps was focused on farming, and after Broxah ate the sleep, they were forced to give up that neutral objective. So small gain now in favor of G2.
That's what we want to see, more synergy between the top mid and the jungle there for G2, setting up the play, being able to steal away some of the jungle. And with an Infernal Drake on the board here, Vedius, you have to expect some vision control down towards that bottom side. Hjärnan Wadid step forward, got a ward there. You can see a control ward just placed by Caps as well. Are either of these teams likely to go for that early dragon, that early objective?
Oh, early objective in terms of Inferno? Yeah, I think that definitely has a lot of value. I think that the teams won't fight for it, unfortunately, because if you fall behind in the early game, that really does affect the compositions pretty heavily. But it's definitely a big objective that you want to play around. TP is coming up for sOAZ. will be a window that they can use to try and take that one away. But Caps is also setting his eyes on the blue buff. Says, look, you took mine. I maybe want to get this, or maybe even a top bot lane play. Remember, again, TP's unavailable for Wunder right now.
Is a stopwatch on Hjärnan. We have to watch that. Going golden can totally stop a gank in its tracks, and you can see Fnatic unwilling to make that call, unwilling to pull the trigger on that gank. G2 have extended about an 800 gold lead here. CS advantage for Wunder in the top lane against sOAZ on that Cho'Gath.
Very much what you'd expect in the Gnar versus tank matchup. Cho'Gath's just doing what he can to sustain. Now PerkZ looking for a roam. Remember, the range that you can get through the walls from the E of Zoe is incredibly long. And then once it lands, Zoe has so much time to position in a way to deal as much damage as possible. Sleep, speaking of.
That's a paddling. Caps feels the bad side of a paddle star. Doesn't connect with the final one, but the Drowsy does. PerkZ looking for another paddle star here. Hits it on towards the Razor Beaks instead. And I've seen a couple of times there, PerkZ perhaps mistiming his portal jump forward. The paddle star seems to be finishing before the portal jump comes out.
He did make a tweet saying that I will be the best Zoe in the world. I don't know how confident he is in that statement, given that he said a similar thing about Yasuo at one point, but we can brush that aside as G2...
At least he's played the Zoe this time.
That's very true. That's very true. So, you talked about early Infernal Drake. G2, they had the push in mid. Caps was forced back, and both Rekkles and Hylissang had to respect the possible dive down bot, so they backed away as well, allowing G2 the numbers advantage to rotate back up and secure themselves the Infernal Drake. So G2, for the time being, maintaining control over the early game.
Yeah, Fnatic seem to be on the losing side of a lot of trades at the moment, both in terms of people getting damaged out, vision control going in favor of G2. They stole away that blue buff. Gold isn't too monumentally different, but there is that slight lead in the top lane, about 200 gold or so. Broxah takes a chunk, and he's going to get forced back as well.
Cannon minion missed there for PerkZ.
Oh,
hurt his pride.
That's actually what makes you lose mid lane. It's not getting killed by the enemies. Every time you miss a cannon minion, you just die a little bit inside.
What hurts even more is when you have the Spell Thief-like passive appear on a minion, and then you miss that.
Oh.
You fail to last hit that. That's
you've felt that a lot of times.
I feel like I am a terrible Zoe player. Absolutely dreadful.
I know.
My average deaths per game is 11. So that's my average.
Was it Faxi last year who had that 13 death game on Jarvan? Just cosplaying as an LCS player then.
Yeah, it's my climb to fame. Now, looking back in at the game at hand, keep your eyes on the wards that Jankos has set up in the bottom side of the enemy jungle. He has this tendency to work with his mid laner, as we often said, to just get these deep wards down so he can track Broxah and see where he is moving around the map. Just having these bits of info, cut some of the entrances that Fnatic have, or that Broxah will move through, give Jankos that bit of extra information that allows him to move around the map and see where he can punish Broxah.
It's not always about seeing the enemy jungler, it's about knowing where you're not seeing the enemy jungler. Helps you keep a track of them. Once again, Jankos is towards this mid lane. Caps is gonna just take a little bit of a star to the back and teleport once again from the Spell Thief here for PerkZ.
Now remember, there is this ward down in the bottom lane that G2 could look to try and force a TP play. Hjärnan.
Looks like Hylissang's going to take a Chain of Corruption, does use the Cleanse to get away from it, but the follow-up from Wadid is strong. Stopwatch, Glacial Fissure was used as well, and G2 will accept that. They don't need much more.
A little surprised that PerkZ didn't want to TP into that, but they will take the Cleanse and heal away from Hylissang.
He's not going to go for the paddle star. It's all right.
Caps utilizing the range that he has from the EQ combo to get away from PerkZ as fast as possible. Relatively low on mana. We can also see the support item being picked up by PerkZ as well for a bit of additional gold, but also that bonus move speed that you get once you complete the quest.
And I'm intrigued to see Fnatic falling behind in this game, because Jankos is going to get the engage on Caps! He got clapped, Vedius.
We just talked about how G2 love to play around these neutral objectives, blue buff specifically. They have the timing on it. They knew that Caps was heading that way. And while they got there a little late, they got a compensation prize in the form of a kill onto the mid laner of Fnatic.
And once again, we see a Zoe pressuring a turret into an Azir early on. Jizuke did this earlier. He got first turret in the mid lane. G2 are looking to put some damage down on this tower as well. And they have a 2,000 gold lead at the 15-minute mark. Up until now, Fnatic have been the best team in the league for having a gold lead at 15. They average 2,000 ahead.
Wow.
Here, they're 2,000 behind.
G2 putting on the pressure. They've had good control over the early game, and now their eyes are set on a dive top. Caps is trying to answer, but won't get there in time.
Caps is on his way. PerkZ there already, though. The Gnar back on towards sOAZ. The paddle staff does not connect, but the sleep will, and he will take a nap. sOAZ goes to sleep, and sOAZ goes goodbye as PerkZ gets his kill.
PerkZ even picks himself up the flash, but here comes Caps.
Broxah there as well. The heal on towards PerkZ. Another sleepy trouble bubble, and they're gonna get the double! Caps jumps in, though. He's trying to get these soldiers to do some work for him. The stopwatch out of PerkZ, but he has nowhere to go. Caps will get a consolation prize.
PerkZ using the stopwatch there to buy time for his top lane. It ends up being a 1-for-2 trade in favor of G2. A lot of flashes used, but a lot of kills gained as G2 continue to extend their gold lead.
Just strong laning here from G2. A bit of synergy between Jankos and Wunder and PerkZ that we're starting to see that I'm starting to like, but a lot of it's just been them playing the lanes and playing the vision game better. They first turret in mid lane. Caps is trying to answer top, but the pressure is all in G2's favor.
I like the play here from G2. They recognize they're going to lose that top tower. So in order to get the bonus gold, they send Wunder into mid, where sOAZ was also TPing, and secure it for themselves. So neither top laner has that TP available. A lot of summoner spells around mid and top have been used. So our eyes now have to track these mid laners. Where do they try and repeat gank? Where do they look to set up elsewhere? So we talked a little bit in the early game how Zoe can roam around the map, especially towards the top side, to look for a dive. The dive is pretty clean, easy setup. PerkZ just takes a lot of damage from the tower, waiting for his Q cooldown to be back up. He takes the flash away from the Cho'Gath, and he still has the heal summoner spell available to him. And then this is just Zoe damage.
That's not the prettiest picture if you are the Kha'Zix on the end of that. Caps cleans up in the end, but it is a 1-for-2 as you said. sOAZ has eaten PerkZ. He may have touched your baguette, but he absolutely devoured PerkZ. And there's going to be a mid lane tower pressure here for Fnatic as well.
It's a good pick for Fnatic, because they can now set up towards this mid lane. I want to see perhaps the Tahm Kench ultimate used mid, but instead their eyes are set on that bottom lane because Wadid feels forced to group up with the rest of his team. Fnatic finding this pick will help a lot.
And now they seem to be the ones who are getting these lanes pushing in. It's another Infernal Drake here, Vedius, and Fnatic have the advantage on it. There's no TP on PerkZ, so he can't join the fight quickly. Looks like Fnatic are going to be able to secure this one for themselves.
A bit of relief gain for Fnatic. A lot of kills are going in the favor of G2. A lot of them were being stacked on top of PerkZ. This Zoe, who we know can be terrifying.
And they get pressure in the mid lane as well. This gold is going to swing if Fnatic can take down some of these standing objectives. It's only 2,000 now for G2. That extended a little bit, but let's have a quick look at this once again as PerkZ
what
just
happened
overextends.
So he uses the Righteous Glory. Oh, of course, he doesn't have the flash due to earlier. So as walks up, is able to get a clean knock-up into the silence, and then Caps just has the deeps to get himself the kill. So pretty easy setup there, and a good collapse from Sion and Caps.
G2 are able to push into this jungle though and steal away another buff for themselves. Their strong vision control helping them out. They have control wards littered in that Fnatic jungle.
Something that we see G2 do a lot. They've done it a lot so far this game. And successfully being able to steal another buff is a great feat. Now we see PerkZ putting a little harassment down onto Hylissang. Unfortunately, doesn't find anything. But G2 did secure themselves another tower in the bot and top. So now that gold lead has in fact extended to 4,000. And Infernal Drake sits on both teams. And this matchup's still relatively even. I'm still looking at this and I'm looking at the composition from Fnatic, thinking to myself, again, the 5v5, very strong. Azir, Tristana, we saw earlier in the day with Misfits versus Vitality, how much more value Azir can offer in the team fights, because a lot of skill shots on top of PerkZ. If you miss anything, you then have to wait for the cooldowns, and you have to make sure you land it onto the key targets. You're much better off roaming around, finding these skirmishes or finding these picks, catching unsuspecting targets and poking targets out before the fight actually starts.
We said that's kind of what G2 want to do. They've got a 1-3-1 possibility here. Wunder's got the Frozen Mallet and the Black Cleaver now, so can trade very effectively into sOAZ. PerkZ is ahead as well because of that extra kill. Frostqueen's claim and the Morello Nomicon completed on him, and he's going to go back and spend some of his gold as well. So the question becomes, are Fnatic in a good enough position to force fights in the mid if they want to go for this 5-man group? Or can G2 just go for a 1-3-1 and stop Fnatic's advance?
It is quite challenging for Fnatic to force a fight. We saw a similar thing from Misfits earlier in the day where they were running the Kha'Zix, but remember, it does scale well. And usually what you use is the Baron to force these plays. With the Cho'Gath and with the grouped up 5-man unit, Fnatic feel that they can bait G2 around this objective. But as we mentioned, Fnatic have shown over the last 2 weeks their Baron control is not good. Their vision setup is not great. They make rash decisions where they try and force fights they're not really in a good situation to go for. And you just have to hope that they've cleaned up some of that play as the Baron now spawns. Vision is going to be an extremely important asset, as G2 have already set up river control around the top side.
Fnatic just don't have that many wards on the top side of the map. I think they've only got one, maybe one plus that control ward, which is basically next to the mid lane anyway. Once again, PerkZ has a teleport off that spell thieves, but here comes the Abyssal Voyage as they look for the engage. It's only Hylissang!
Whoa. Okay, I thought this was going to be a really good punish there, because we heard Senkux on the desk saying you need to use this Tahm Kench in the mid game. You want to be trying to punish the 1-3-1 by quickly rotating members from one lane to the other, utilizing the Tahm Kench ultimate. But then Hylissang just shows up and goes, "Bah-ha-ha! It is I!" And then PerkZ is like, "Whoa, okay."
I mean, he did use the teleport away.
Yeah, he backed off, so well played from Hylissang. But now, next time, bring some people, and let's see if Fnatic can get a kill. But for G2, they have set up the 1-3-1. They're doing what the analysts expected them to do, and sOAZ is struggling up against Wunder.
You have to expect that as well. Gnar is so good into these matchups. Tahm Kench on his way down as well, but Wunder should be able to escape. And as they said on the desk, there's actually a fight going as Caps is forced back. But as Senkux said on the desk, Wunder's actually been playing relatively well this split. He's got pretty good stats across the board. It hasn't been on him that G2 are losing games. It's more just on that synergy. And with this 1-3-1 forming, with their early pressure, with their ability to steal off buffs, I think G2 may have been able to find some of those cogs that connect this team as a team.
Yeah, I do feel that Wunder has been arguably the most consistent performer on this G2 lineup so far. And given the amount of pressure that he's exerting down on the side lane, I definitely think he's one of the reliable carries that you'll be looking at if you're a G2 fan to have a large impact on this game. But PerkZ is obviously the other big carry. We already talked about him earlier on. 2-2-1 right now on this Zoe. We got to talk about this side lane, sOAZ versus Wunder.
It's what the Frozen Mallet and Black Cleaver can do for you. sOAZ is already down to half HP. Caps is on his way down, and Wunder realizes and backs away. This is exactly, it's respect, and that's what you want to see from G2.
He's recognizing the Tahm Kench ultimate after seeing it top. He's like, whoa, I don't want to go up against Hylissang and sOAZ. I already saw what happened to PerkZ, and he wasn't man enough to go up for that challenge. Fortunately, we do have a pause. We will find out what the issue is as soon as possible, and I imagine that it will be rectified almost immediately. Looks like it is PerkZ.
Does give me an opportunity though, Vedius. PerkZ, before week 1 of the EU LCS, had a chat with some of our article writers and taught us how to play Zoe.
He did.
So if you want to jump over to eu.lolesports.com, you can play Zoe like PerkZ, which this game has been pretty well.
I mean, aside from the death in mid.
Well, yeah, but we forgive him a death. Everyone gets one death.
Sure.
He's died twice, so everyone gets 2 deaths.
It's better than averaging 11, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that it's definitely a fine performance from PerkZ as of right now. Just to give people a bit of a recap, 3,500 goal lead in favor of G2 right now. A lot of that does come from the tower advantage that they have, 3-1 in favor of G2. And along with that, we're looking at players like Wunder and PerkZ to be some of the big carries off on the side lane. Those are the 2 players that really should have a big impact in this game moving forward, and the way in which they execute the 1-3-1. Typically a slightly harder composition to execute compared to the group up 5 force a fight, but for the time being, G2 are doing a fine job.
PerkZ is just experiencing some frame drops. So we're restarting his PC to try and get everything settled, and we should be back into game relatively soon, assuming everything goes well.
You don't want to be like me, who always plays at 60 FPS. You got to make sure that you go
I don't understand why everyone
optimal.
complains about that. So, like, if your monitor's 60 Hz and you play at 60 FPS, seems fine to me.
That's what I like, but for our
We're going to get a lot of angry tweets after this. Like, what are you doing? You're not using your graphics card optimally.
But for pro players, obviously, they want the maximum settings. You want to make sure that you are performing optimally and your environment is in perfect conditions.
League officials are just getting the ready checks from the players, so we should be back into game relatively soon.
Excellent. Quick pause, just gave us a bit of a breather. The tension was building.
And we got to talk about FPS issues,
Yes,
so that's always a benefit.
That's always a joy. You see a lot of Zoe on the on the cams right now.
It's really good.
You know, she is actually one of my... I was really excited about her release, and I was like, I'm going to main Zoe.
You're not good enough to main
I
Zoe.
know. She's really hard, man.
There she is. Let's get back on into Summoner's Rift as we watch the pros pilot Zoe. Vedius, quick evaluation of the state of the game. 3,000 gold ahead for G2. Infernal Drake on either side. 3 towers to 1 in favor of G2, but those turrets are looking pretty low. Fnatic could try and take them out soon.
Jankos has his eyes on caps. They will just gain mid-priority for the time being as they now move over to the Baron. And so, the dance begins once more. The classic, the standard, the first step that you should always take when securing Baron is gain river control. You'll see that Wadid will just run up through the middle of the river using his sweeper to make sure that there are no wards visible. Cap's throwing a bit of poke down. But once the river is cleared out, that's when you start pushing your vision forward. And it's a slow back and forth. And so G2 will constantly move back to mid, clear out the wave, move back into the jungle, and start to spread their vision even deeper. And this is where Zoe becomes lethal. Look at these walls that she can jump over. Look at the poke that she can throw down.
Broxah takes a quick nap, but should be okay. sOAZ did get bottom tower during that vision control period for G2. So Fnatic are now back within 3,000 gold. You're looking at a Leandri's Nash's Tooth on Caps. You're looking at an Infinity Edge and a Static Shiv on Rekkles, who has been pretty quiet thus far in the game. Haven't seen much from either of these bot lanes.
0-0-0 across the board. Really has been the top side of the map. This is the dance that you'll see once again. So now that G2 have backed off, they've gotten a bit of deep vision in the side of Fnatic's jungle. Fnatic now move in. They clear out the wards, but they're now going to be out of wards. They have to go back to base, reset. G2 will do the same, and you have this back and forth. And ideally, you want to try and punish when the enemy team is going back to base, restocking on vision. And given the compositions, it's Fnatic that want to be forcing this. They have the Cho'Gath. They have an Azir Tristana. Incredibly fast Baron-taking team. And in the past when we've seen them, they have not been great at it. But so far, they're playing the patient game. They're respecting the 1-3-1 from G2. They're yet to properly use the Tahm Kench ultimate to try and punish one of these side lanes yet.
G2 have almost perfect vision around this Baron area now. Look at how many wards they have, pushing towards the blue buff of Fnatic as well. You come down here, you follow Jankos, they've got so much vision.
So you push up mid now. Ideally, you want to push one more wave up top, and then you try and force it, or you force a play mid.
Cleanse from Caps, and he dodges away from the Fisher, but Wunder is on his way. Jankos with the flank, the knock-up onto Hylissang, has to flash. Will get caught up in that stun. Here comes sOAZ, he wants to devour a target. He looks for Jankos, but can't quite get the kill. Caps jumps forward, the soldiers are rising through the base of G2, absolutely destroying them in a 4v5. Fnatic get a 1-for-1 trade.
G2 end up trading 1-for-1 in a 4 versus 5. Rekkles wasn't even there, and now he's on his way. sOAZ, look at all the HP he's just gotten back from the Warmog. They have their eyes set on the final outer tier tower.
sOAZ needed a siesta, but they are going to get this final outer turret. As you say, 3 towers to 3 now, and Fnatic look to have some more mid control, and that is vital when you're playing around the Baron.
It was G2 just trying to force the fight. Rekkles doing what he normally does and sitting off onto a side lane. They knew that they had the numbers advantage, but they just overcommitted. So you'll see now, this is where G2 commit a little too hard. They see Hylissang, PerkZ misses the sleep, and at this point G2 should just disengage, especially with sOAZ joining the fray. But Hjärnan positioned so close to the tower to secure that kill that it allows Caps to get all this free damage off, shut him down, and result in a 1-for-1 trade. And Fnatic end up coming out on top simply because they get themselves that mid tower. The gold still in favor of G2, but these kind of mistakes are what G2 can't afford to make. And this is what we heard the analysts say. This is what we've been saying a lot about both these teams. Their mid-game decision-making, especially when it comes to setting up and playing around the Baron, just seems to be lacking. The synergy seems to be off for both these teams.
Fnatic once again going to set up Baron vision control. I'm liking the amount of control wards I see in these inventories as well. 2 on Rekkles, there were 3 on Hylissang, he's just placed one. Got a couple sitting on sOAZ and Broxah. Rekkles now has a QSS to try and keep himself a little bit safer from that sleepy trouble bubble.
I think it makes a lot of sense too when you think about all the single targets you see, the Sejuani ultimate.
Oh, Shurima shuffle! Hjärnan gets a bunch of visual offers. Wadid tries to get away. Broxah with the ult on the side where Caps cuts the kill. And now they're looking for a little bit more. They get two! All off the back of Caps.
Fantastic pick there from Caps, recognizing the no flash on Hjärnan. He already used it in the earlier fight, and now Fnatic have everything they need to start off the Baron.
Beast still available on sOAZ. Hylissang fighting Jankos, devouring him, stopping him from getting towards this Baron. The sleep is going to land. PerkZ jumps in. He can't steal it, and Caps gets it. And now they're going to try and save Hylissang, but he's already dead. Another Drowsy hits on towards sOAZ. Perhaps G2 aren't done yet because Wunder is building up the raid bar. Caps is low, but somehow just about gets away. Another sleep on towards sOAZ. Once again, the Doc champ gets taken out, and sOAZ will die, but Fnatic do get the Baron.
Fnatic can be happy with that trade. Securing themselves the Baron is a huge advantage for them. This is going to make G2's life so much harder. They want to play this 1-3-1. They want to play on the side lanes, and two of the core members that should be pushing out that mid lane end up getting caught out. Hjärnan and Wadid, the replacements for Sven and Mithy, end up losing their lives and giving over a huge objective to Fnatic.
What a play from Caps as well. The insight, the decision making to go in like that. Watch this again, because this is all Caps.
Now remember, there is no flash onto Hjärnan. He cannot escape from this, and the collapse and punishment from Fnatic is magnificent. They get the kills they need, they move towards the Baron, and with the fast Baron taking power, they're able to secure it quickly. But so much praise needs to be given to Hylissang as well. 1v3. Or 1v2 rather, as PerkZ tries to steal away the Baron. Jankos has no interest in getting there. He realizes he can't get in time. Entirely reliant on PerkZ to steal it away.
75 HP on that Baron.
That's only because sOAZ failed to get the perfect consume off.
75 HP, that was pretty close. PerkZ almost stole it with a paddle star, but now Fnatic in the advantage. Only 1,000 gold behind. 30 minutes into this game, they show no signs of stopping. And now Fnatic can't play around the mid lane and the Baron because there's no Baron to be had, Vedius. So what's the strategy
for Fnatic or
for Fnatic?
For Fnatic. Well, they just need to group up and siege now. Like, push out your sideways. You have the teleport available on sOAZ. You have a Tristana, Azir, and both these champions are excellent at sieging. As now, Caps get stunned up.
Cleanse from Caps. There's the wall to stop them coming in, but PerkZ is going to jump across the Glacial Fissure, the knock up, the sleep, and that's a shutdown onto Caps.
The frustration on Caps' face as he ends up dying to the four-man squad of G2. But sOAZ is pushing top lane. He does have the TP, so he can continue on with the siege, and the rest of Fnatic are down bot, but G2 finding that pick. They hoped to relieve some of the pressure. They hoped that this would slow down the siege from Fnatic. Unfortunately for them, that is not quite the case.
Lose some damage on that top tower, but G2 can look for a tower of their own because Fnatic just haven't reacted to it. They do have the Baron-empowered recalls, of course, but a mid-lane tower off a pick. We said it was Fnatic that needed to group up and siege. G2 seem to be the ones who have made a proactive play during this Baron buff.
G2, they still have a gold lead. Things are still not all dire for them. This is not suddenly an instant win for Fnatic. The Baron buff is about to wear off. Only, I believe, 0 towers actually went down. So G2, they're still in a comfortable situation. They still have the option of playing the 1-3-1. This composition still scales quite nicely. You do have to be concerned about the Tristana versus... still,
PerkZ is dead.
Okay, PerkZ is dead. Level 16 Rekkles. That is insane.
And an Ocean Drake goes across towards G2, but how much have they paid? Once again, a mid laner getting caught out. Fnatic get that mid lane turret. Looks like Rekkles is going to sit around for the time being as well as they wait for this minion wave to push up. Baron buff expiring. Broxah. That's Jankos actually going to check into the bush.
Oh my word, the difference between these two AD carries is absolutely insane. Fnatic not afraid to just run it down mid. G2, they don't have the wave clear. PerkZ, him being dead, is so detrimental to this G2 roster.
That is, Caps jumps in on towards Wunder. Can't get to the Mango, and now Fnatic have taken the inhibitor and the inhibitor tower up. Fnatic, 7 kills to 7, equal gold. This is looking good for them right now.
This is looking very good for Fnatic. They have everything that they need. The crowd is in their favor. Even though Caps lost his life, Rekkles was able to make up for it. Something that we have seen for a long time with Rekkles is him going off onto a side lane, his getting a lot of farm, and while early on, G2 were able to get a couple of successful punishes onto Fnatic. For the most part, Fnatic held their own. While Rekkles was off on a side lane, they didn't lose too many advantages. The 4-man unit were even able to trade a couple of kills. And as a result, Rekkles is now at a point where he is one of the highest level players in the game. Level 17, 3.5 items finished. This
3 levels ahead as well.
Yeah, it's insane. This AD carry is so strong for this portion in the game, and you just have to look and say, Hjärnan will not be able to even remotely match the damage output.
And Tristana scales so well with levels as well. Draw a bead, gets you extra range. You get rapid shot as well. That Q, level that up, get more attack speed. She is so strong when you get to these late game portions. Outscales the Varus as well. PerkZ trying to jump in, gets the drowsy, but it's only onto Hylissang. Jankos might look for the engage here. Is Shurima's legacy as the tower goes down, and Caps shuffles forward once again. Abyssal Voyage used. TP behind them as well immediately. sOAZ is sleeping, but Fnatic can sense blood. They sense a kill. They sense some regicide as PerkZ jumps in. sOAZ on the front line, 5v5. It's a brawl in the mid lane. The catch, the devour. Fnatic on the back foot now. PerkZ still raining down hell from the side. He gets a drowsy onto Rekkles as well. Already 1 kill. Wunder not going to be able to step further forward, but you can see Fnatic realize they need to back away. They need to retreat. G2 defend their honor.
What tense team fighting between the two powerhouses of G2 and Fnatic. Such a close situation. You think that there's going to be a one-sided fight for Fnatic given the strength of Rekkles, but they just can't commit to this choke point. It was so messy, so back and forth. And now Fnatic are grouping up in the top side, but PerkZ, wow, what a performance from him, finding that pick. Carefully dancing between the line of life and death, finding those key targets with the E, with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble.
It's like both of these mid laners just need to one-up each other.
Yeah. So let's have a look at exactly how this fight plays out. Because initially, PerkZ, he takes a lot of damage. The TP flank comes in. G2 are being forced into this little choke point. You think this is opportune, this is perfect, but an initial good sleep onto sOAZ means that he can't really get onto the backline. Now keep your eyes on PerkZ again, just constantly dealing damage over the wall. He's going to land another great sleep onto Hylissang. He doesn't even need it, he just has the burst damage, secures the kill, and if Wunder had had his ultimate there, think of how that could have gone so heavily in the favor of G2.
Look at those damage numbers from PerkZ. Rekkles did not do much, couldn't push forward into the choke point.
And this is where you see the true value of Varus too, because with the Rage Blade, he does so much more damage in extended fights when he can stack up the Rage Blade to the max stats.
Oh, that's your tank! Your tank just lost 1/3 of his HP. PerkZ now amongst these choke points. It's where Zoe works. Wonders. Rekkles trying to get some damage off. Caps doing the same, and Baron is back up. Vedius, Fnatic can sense they want to play around it. They've got mid priority still because that inhibitor is down, but it's going to be respawning quite soon.
Just take a second to breathe. Very close game between the two teams. G2, our team, fighting wonderfully as we reach the later stages of play. Remember, they wanted to play that 1-3-1.
Landed onto Caps.
They haven't really had an opportunity to play it, as now both teams grouping up as 5. PerkZ throwing out so much poke.
Sleep again on towards Broxah. He has to jump away. PerkZ onto sOAZ.
Wunder, no
Where
rage
does the
bar.
engage come? They're going forward. Did Rekkles has jumped forward here. The Unbreakable into Glacial Fissure. The flash away as G2 will be able to get to safety. Abyssal Voyage with a stun. That was bad from Hylissang as he gets caught out. He's slacked as well. Broxah trying to be a front line alongside sOAZ to push them back from the Tahm Kench, but G2 now realize they can step forward. Now realize they can go on the attack. Wunder building up that rage bar up towards the Mega Gnar. Fnatic hiding. Baron's live. You can't go back now. You have to do something. There's Wunder in the Mega, but the minions are in the base as well. Supers pushing on the Nexus towers of G2.
There's a huge wave up top as well that G2 have to find an answer for, but Drowsy being hit. And Hylissang clears that out once again. Now G2 clearing out the middle lane. They want to try and rush this Baron down if they see an opportunity. As a number of members of Fnatic are going back to base.
Broxah's still around though. He can always try and go for the steal. We've seen it once before. G2 just want vision control. Inhibitor respawning soon in the mid lane. PerkZ once again jumping forward. The minions are going to take down that top tower unless this minion wave gets there in time. Caps takes a chunk! The paddle star from long range. Here's the Abyssal Voyage as well as Hylissang rejoins the fight. Caps is going to have to go back. Inhib respawns in the mid lane, and Fnatic and G2 are just brawling in the dirt at the moment. Neither team seems to be able to get the advantage. Neither team.
Baron, though. Oh, they're just clearing it out, forcing G2 to come and check. Zoe goes back to base on his way to join the rest of the team. Death Cap now finished for PerkZ. If you thought he was hitting hard before, well, he's going to hit even harder now. So he's going to be doing terrifying damage, but so is Caps. Both these mid laners have been so monumental in finding opportunities for their teams. Let's see which one is able to come out on top, as Rekkles now level 18 and Caps soloing the Elder Drake.
On Azir, something you can do. Wunder's looking for the Mega here, but does not realize the Elder Drake is going down. It's with an Infernal as well, so you get that buff. There we go. Fnatic with a proactive play, get the Elder Drake, but G2 have positioning on the Baron.
But they can't afford to rush this right now because Fnatic, they want to fight. They have an excellent team fighting comp. They have reached the late game stage. They have the Elder Drake. Everything is in their courthouse to win a team fight. So G2, they're just trying to stall.
Can they find the engage there, though? Really looking at Ruptures or Azir, Caps shuffling his way on towards that backline. G2 have the tools to just zone control them away. Those sleepy trouble bubbles are not a pleasant sight if you're a Fnatic player at the moment. Once again, playing around this Baron vision. So tense. sOAZ going to get slept. PerkZ messes up the paddle star. Perhaps a little bit of nerves as he's challenged by Caps in this game once again.
Just constant sitting in the middle lane, pushing back and forth. Side lanes are not a thing anymore.
There is a big bot wave for Fnatic. It's going to take a bit of time to push forward.
Big top wave for G2 as well.
The map is split, Vedius.
But Fnatic, they have priority over the middle lane. They also have the Elder Drake. There is a set on this mid inhibitor.
Put down the Shurima's Legacy as well, an extra tower for Fnatic to try and push in. This is the moment where kings are made. This is your coronation. You win a fight here, you take the game, but G2, they're not giving up that throne easily.
Tahm Kench ultimate straight towards the Baron. They're rushing it down.
Ward comes down, as does a second. They realize it now. Jankos looking for a flank here. 5,000 HP, sOAZ flashes away, but the Baron is so low. Broxah gets slept. There is the Baron. Fnatic get it, and now G2 have to wonder if they want to take the fight. sOAZ with the knock up the Devour from Fnatic. Hylissang, PerkZ with a jump in. G2, they want to do something here. Can't quite land the Glacial Prism. They can't quite land the damage, but eventually they'll take down sOAZ. We're going to try and chase out Hylissang as well, who can just flash the wall. He gets slept. The blast cone jumps away with the cleanse. And Fnatic once again get away, but Wunder's not done yet. He's building up that rage bar. You can see G2 are hungry for the fight. They can't quite get the kills. Hylissang escapes, and Fnatic get the Baron.
G2, they lose control. They decide to commit onto sOAZ rather than trying to steal away the Baron. They're only able to find a single pick onto sOAZ, but Fnatic walk away with the objective. You have to imagine that now they have everything that they could need to try and end this game, but look at where Jankos is focusing. His eyes are on the Cho'Gath. He wants to kill the tank. He doesn't want to go for the 50-50 smite. He thinks that he can force Fnatic into this fight. But instead, Fnatic, they just disengage. They walk away with the Baron, they split up, and they realize, right, if we're going to lose a couple members, it's fine as long as we walk away with the big buff.
It's important to remember that big minion wave in the bot lane as well. That did take down the tower for Fnatic, so they get some more gold from that. They are now perfectly even in gold once again as we come up to the 40-minute mark. And look at the damage from PerkZ. It doesn't matter though, because Fnatic were focusing down that Baron. Elder Drake has worn off for them, but they do have the Baron buff and a level 18 Rekkles.
You know, we wanted an exciting game, and while it hasn't been super action-packed, it has been very tense, Medic. So much grouping up in the middle lane, and we're now at the point where all these items are being completed. Full build. Hjärnan now finally level 16 after all this time.
Look at that build on Rekkles as well. He's sitting on 5 completed items. The full build Tristana. Might change out the boots for something else later on, but does not need it at the moment. Caps and PerkZ, 4 items apiece as well. Still a stopwatch on Caps. Want to see if he uses that as we get later into this game. And now Fnatic just taking out this final outer turret. 7 towers to 4. Fnatic want to slay the current kings. G2 looking for a fight. PerkZ there with the engage, the paddle star, but they can't quite make the connection. They know sOAZ is in that bottom lane. They know they have a chance to fight a 4v5.
G2 are just trying to stall out the Baron for the time being. Only a minute left on the objective. They do spot out Broxah in the top side of the jungle, even with the ultimate upgraded. They will see him as he pops in and out of stealth. Single pick is all it takes, Medic. We're at the late game point where Tristana will rip through these towers insanely quickly. So if a single member of G2 dies, Fnatic look to try and end the game. But G2, you look at this comp, you see how quickly they can chase you down, how much pick, how much poke potential they have. And they're just waiting for a single misstep. Fnatic have to keep their eye on the game at all times. It's a big chunk of damage down onto PerkZ though.
Now it's Fnatic enacting the 1v1. Rekkles up towards the top side, sOAZ in the bottom. Fnatic pushing in with 3 members. We'll get this inhibitor down in the mid. Jankos unable to defend versus Rekkles. You say he shreds through towers. That's exactly what he's doing, but the rest of Fnatic have gone down towards the bottom side as they look for the second inhibitor turret. Wunder trying to step forward, can't quite find any engage. Inhibitor tower goes down in the top, and Fnatic are just splitting up G2 here. Hjärnan and Jankos trying to defend. That is a massive advantage for Rekkles. Has the QSS as well if he needs to get away. The prison lands, but it's only onto Hylissang. Chain of corruption as well. PerkZ here. The turret goes down in the bot lane, as will the inhibitor. And G2 perhaps have overextended in the wrong engage. Caps going to be upsetting. Rekkles kills Hjärnan. That's the kill we wanted. Vedius and Fnatic can just look for the win. They're looking for all 3 inhibitors first. G2 trying to defend.
And Fnatic, they're continuing the siege. All 3 inhibitors are down. Rekkles level 18 is looking to try and end this game as the crowd is in an excited state.
They're not the only ones, Vedius. Fnatic pushing on the base of G2. 4 members v5. The old Kings versus the new as Fnatic try and close out this game. The Nexus Tower still surviving. KRZ goes in. Only gets the support, but gets the stopwatch. sOAZ eats him. Wadid is done. And now the Wunder, the knockback. Can G2 defend? It's on PerkZ. It's on Jankos. It's on Wunder. But they just don't have the power to do it. Fnatic looking to close this one out. PerkZ trying to defend off towards the back line, but Rekkles is still alive. Looking for that first Nexus Tower. We'll get it down. Going for the second now. Fnatic can taste it, they can taste the win, and it's on Jankos and PerkZ to defend, but they just can't do enough. Fnatic should be able to close this game out. They go for the Nexus, they go for the kills, they'll clean them up, and the old Kings are alive once more.
While Medic catches his breath, Fnatic walk away with the win. Both teams have been struggling as we return to the European LCS, but it is Fnatic that are able to come out on top. G2, they had a great early game. They held on to the gold lead for the vast majority of this game. They tried to play the 1-3-1. They got caught out just one too many times, and your eyes have to fall to Hjärnan. He did struggle a lot this game, whereas Rekkles stepped up. Level 17, insanely early, throwing out so much damage, and alongside Caps, who was constantly finding those picks, positioning extremely well in team fights. Things just look bright for the side of Fnatic.
And what a confidence booster that must be for them to be able to take down that win. They didn't get the early advantage we've been seeing from them. Came down to those later game shot calls, those Baron calls, the decision making around the macro play. It was a lot cleaner from Fnatic. Not perfect yet, but a lot cleaner than we've seen.
Oh yes. It was a great game. It was definitely a way to end out on week 2.
Have to look at the other side of the coin though, Vedius. G2.
G2.
What is going through their minds right now?
I mean, they got to be frustrated, right? Based on... I mean, I think PerkZ still had a great game. I think he was doing a lot right. Yes, he did die in the middle lane, but that's just kind of Cho'Gath things. I can forgive him for that. His impact, though, in finding a lot of picks, playing a lot of team fights on a very difficult champion was impressive to watch. But they just couldn't really turn any of those big team fights in their favor. And a lot of that came down to the fact that Hjärnan did struggle. He fell very far behind. He still wasn't even level 18 at the end of the game. His damage numbers did look good when they were forced up into that choke point, but he was just sitting there, stacking up, hitting it onto the Cho'Gath, and not really the other members of Fnatic.
And at the end, Rekkles killed him in the 1v1. It was, well, 2v2, Rekkles and Hylissang versus Jankos and Hjärnan. But if you're a Fnatic fan, you are looking at the rest of the split, and you've got a bit more of a glint of hope in your eyes.
I mean, it is still only week 2. Yeah. There's still plenty of time to turn things around. But in terms of expectation, no one really expected G2 to be 1-3 after the second week of European play. And while they did have a tough split in summer of last year, they were able to bounce back and have a strong showing at playoffs. And I imagine that will still be their expectation, but to lose to Fnatic is always a little bittersweet. It happens twice last season with G2 versus Fnatic, and I'm sure that they want to taste a bit of revenge, but today it was Fnatic that was able to claim the title of king.
That it was. The players gave it all on the battlefield, and we're curious which of the kings you think reigned supreme. Our analysts have selected Caps, Broxah, and sOAZ as your options, so check out at LOL eSports on Twitter and vote for your player of the game. Apologize, my voice is still a little bit gone from that final team fight.
Man, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, I think they're all worthy options. Personally, I would go towards Caps. I think that, yes, he did struggle a little bit in terms of the very early game, but he definitely made up for it as the game progressed.
I think the amount of shuffles he had, catching out Hjärnan and Wadid in that mid lane, catching out Wadid at the end as well, he would be my vote as well.
But we're always guaranteed an interesting matchup when we get Fnatic versus G2. Yes, with the meta, things are a little slow, but the fact that both these powerhouse teams just kept grouping up mid and it was back and forth.
Oh, it was wonderful to watch.
It was like everyone was home, was like, wait, they're playing like I do, you know, just constantly back and forth. Who cares about side lanes? We don't need to control them. And it was Fnatic that were able to get that Baron in the end, and then they closed it out in relatively clean fashion.
Played to their team composition, going 2-2 in the end. In our final game of the week, Fnatic came out on top against G2. Let's head over to Law and hear what Caps and Broxah have to say after that win.
Thank you very much.